We have tried since the beginning of the PACE Esports program to have a really concrete, visible, explicit set of cultural core values that we are fairly strict about. And those values are grounded in inclusivity, being welcoming, having it be a safe space, and no toxicity tolerance policy. Yeah, it's really just an inclusive program through and through. So we want to accommodate players and students who are at the high competitive end of their game and who are on our varsity teams, but we also want to accommodate people who are just playing on any sort of competitive team for the first time and are maybe newer to their game and it's just for fun, at the club level. So that's what we try to do. We have 150-ish students in our program and only 2 staff members, so we can only have as much oversight as we can have. But we've had only a couple of instances over the course of 3 years, and I think our players and students, they come to understand that our program is about what it's about. It's a space where there's just no tolerance for being toxic or negative or exclusive. And if it's not appropriate for that student to participate and that's not right for them, then sometimes we take action there. But that's kind of how we ensure just having really strong values at the heart of our program.
So my name's Narumi, so I kind of just took the end of it and put Umi into it. And from there, it was originally a Twitter name. So I was trying to find a name so that I could join this community with my friend. And I couldn't figure it out. So then I came by like the word yosei, which means in Japanese would mean fairy or elf. And I kind of just stuck with that because I think it's also really cute, fairy or elf, but also because I have pointy ears. So I just thought that was like a cute reference to who I am as a person. I'd say overall it fits, it has my name in it, and I'd like to think that I'm a fairy.
My gamer tag, right now I don't have a set one. I have one for every single game. But the one that I would usually default to is just mayo, like just mayonnaise, like mayo. I originally chose it because I thought it was just cute and like it was just like, oh, mayo. And also there was like a small reason that I thought was funny. It was like an inside joke between me and my friends. So we're all Chinese and there's a word in Chinese that's like mayo. It's like to say like you don't have something. So like mayo chen means I have no money. So I just thought it was my friend suggested how about mayo chen, and I thought mayo was just cute. So it's just an inside joke between us.
It's actually pretty recent change because I used to actually be the Epic Donuts, and I feel like I outgrown that a little bit because I made that when I was 10. So I kind of switched to Your Local Witch because, forgive me if I'm being informal, but it rhymed with bitch, and I thought that was kind of cool. And also I just kind of like the witchy aesthetic. I'm not super into it like in real life, but I kind of like the way that I can creatively market myself and draw like my own little characters to be like a little witch. And I think I kind of did it for a branding reason, and it just sounds cool. Because it's Your Local Witch, it's a pretty feminine name, I'd say. So it's a different experience than I had when I was under the Epic Donuts because they kind of know my gender already when I'm playing because it's a very feminine name, and so that kind of, I guess, reflects me in reality. So the person behind the screen is probably not someone who is a guy. I think Overwatch as a game has gotten a lot better with having a more accepting and diverse community. But definitely in other games that I've played, I wouldn't say I faced more harassment, but it's definitely I've become an easier target for harassment because they can use that name against me because again it rhymes with bitch and like, oh, look at the Your Local Witch being a bitch, whatever. And so it's definitely been a different experience. I wouldn't say that it's been particularly negative because those experiences aren't very common. But it's definitely, I guess, more targeted. They definitely can sniff out that I'm a girl rather than having a more masculine name.
So I feel that for the most part, being a girl in games, it's still a very much male-dominated community. So I feel that you're often probably going to be picked out in a crowd of people. So even if you're like in a lobby and you're like, people come in and they start, calming, and they're like, hey, how's everyone doing today? And as soon as they hear a girl, it's like, oh, we have a girl. There's this stereotype that you're gonna be bad at the game. I feel pretty much you kind of just learn to accept it and you just roll with it, or you just ignore them. I would say it is nice that we are able to build a community off of that as well, like bring all the girls together to kind of game together, talk about our experiences, so it's not like we're alone, and it's also not that we're weird and we're like not living up to the stereotype of what a woman is. So it's actually really nice to have that community.
It's gotten a little bit better in recent years, but I definitely know that there's a lot of characters that have super over-sexualized, and still a lot of designs are catered to the male gaze because they know that the majority of the customer base are men. And I remember that Overwatch actually originally got so popular because of the porn made of the characters. That was a really big thing, especially in 2016, that a lot of the men were consuming that content and then therefore playing the game because of the way that the characters looked. They were very hypersexualized, had like super exaggerated features that, you know, express their femininity and their figure, and that definitely kind of affected the player base for a while, because when you have a game where the majority of the players are coming from what they see online, especially when it's in a derogatory way, you're going to get a community and people who view women that way, and in return view the women players that way.
I feel that at the beginning we mostly saw that women were in need of help in games, right? So we see like the dynamic between Mario and Peach, where it's always Mario has to work hard and Peach just kind of always somehow gets kidnapped by Bowser. But I feel that it's nicer nowadays in the modern times to see that we're seeing more female protagonists and more of characters that have less submissive like personalities, and more assertive and more powerful and standing for themselves, which is really empowering, right? And I feel like nowadays we're seeing more empowerment for women in video games, and I feel like it's really nice to see, and I feel that it in a way educates people that maybe don't know much about women, about who they can be and what they are like, because not all of us are the same, right? Not all of us are super kind and gentle. Some of us might be more assertive and more, you know, strong-willed and more brave, and, you know, just how any other person works.
In the game I just mentioned, Portal, there's the main character. She was praised when the first game came out of being the first female FPS protagonist that isn't sexualized. She just looks not good. At first she was like this, like in the first game she had like messy hair, no makeup, completely covered body, and she had like a realistic body type. And then in the second game there was like a comparison of the two of them, and I thought it was so funny because she's supposed to still be in that environment. She never left like the thing, so she somehow just grew up while she was asleep. But I just thought it was really interesting how they had to make her more attractive to appeal to people, even though you don't see her. It's a first person, you never see her. Like, you can see her sometimes in a reflection. This is her in Portal 2. She has makeup, like a facelift. Her hair is dyed, it's combed. Yeah, so I just thought that was funny. But I always felt like female characters were always sexualized, even if they weren't supposed to be sexualized. In Valorant, especially, most of the female characters are completely covered, have very modest outfits. Like it just looks normal. And those characters are heavily sexualized, just by people making artwork by themselves, which isn't inherently wrong. It's just that, like, I'm just so used to seeing that, and it's just like, it was nice to have like modest looking, like, it was just like, they're in war. Why are they being like, it hasn't always been a big problem to me, but I don't know, I just have always noticed it, even out, like, just as a kid. I was always like, why does she have to wear shorter clothes? Like, I just always thought it was like, oh, it's because she's gonna be cold.
It's very daunting, especially in the earlier days when I was in high school and middle school. I felt that I couldn't really have a sense of community, and I couldn't really feel like I kind of felt excluded from a lot of things because there was still like a pretty big boys club. And the moment they heard my voice, I was instantly treated differently. I wasn't really a teammate. I was another, I guess, foreign thing. I wasn't really exactly part of the team anymore once they figured out. And so having an all-girls team and like having making those spaces for women has definitely helped me become more comfortable, and it has allowed a lot of other women I know in PACE to become more comfortable and enjoyed our hobbies without having to worry about any kind of toxic comments or any negativity we may experience from playing online without like an all-girls team.
I always get called out for either sounding like a girl, or occasionally because my voice is deeper, I'll get bullied for that as well, because it's like the, oh, you're a girl but you sound like you're a prepubescent boy, which is kind of funny, but sometimes I kind of play off of that and hope that they just think I'm a boy so that way they don't bully me as much. But I think for the most part I like to laugh about it, and I like to kind of troll with them and joke with them as well. It doesn't really hurt as much, but it definitely gets annoying whenever it's a rough day, or you know, you're just not getting into the community. It can be kind of a shock online. It's so much easier to be so, you know, attack people like maliciously because they don't know you and they can't see you, and it's all behind the screen. So I feel like that makes it more easy to create division, but at the same time it brings people together because we're all on this community online. So it's a 50-50, pros and cons are about the same. Beginning, I actually didn't interact with people in games because of that fear that I've been told about by other girls. But in terms of how it shaped me going forward, I think it's kind of made me grow thicker skin, and because of that I feel that I kind of just go into it with a pretty confident mentality. It's kind of made me become a confident player. Whether I'm doing good or not that day, it's the fact that it builds your mental. It really helps you kind of move forward, like, you know what, people are going to say these things and people are going to do these things, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can't control other people, but you can control yourself. So as long as you control yourself and regulate how your mental is doing, I think you will thrive. It's really stressful for a lot of guys, and I have a lot of guy friends, right? And a lot of them talk about like, well, you can just talk to guys and you can get them to buy you skins, and it's so easy to get somebody to carry you because you're a girl, and people have this, they simp over you and stuff like that. But in reality, it's a little stressful sometimes because you're playing a game and you're like, oh, I'm playing bad, I'm fitting that stereotype, right, that women can't play games. Or, you know, if I talk a certain way, I have to talk deeper because I don't want them to think that I'm like this, I guess, like an e-girl, or I don't want them to think that I'm a girl in general. So it's very much constantly micromanaging yourself in a way whenever you game and when you interact with guys online.
Online, I've definitely heard so many things, just like the classic, you're a woman, why are you playing, you suck, you're a woman, go back to the kitchen. Like, it's so basic that I just tune it out. I don't really care. Like, I don't even respond to it anymore. Yeah, it used to bother me when I first started playing PC games and started using voice chat. Like, it used to like be like something that like I always hated, and it would bother me for the rest of the day. But now, because I've played it so much, I just don't care anymore. It's just, I don't even remember, like, I know what happened recently, but I don't even remember what they said because I just didn't care.
Sexism, misogyny, online toxicity, and harassment towards women has been a historical issue within the gaming industry, and it's one that still plagues the industry, though I would wager that it's getting marginally better as the issue becomes, as there's more awareness sort of being spread around that issue. Interestingly, along gaming lines, or in gaming general, the broad umbrella of gaming, it's almost 50-50 participation along gender lines of men and women. When it comes to esports, meaning the more competitive stuff, there's a slightly harder skew towards men. But within our program, we try to make it as diverse as possible. I think we have close to 40% of our program is women or non-binary identifying students, which is something we're quite proud of. We have a couple of all women's teams, which is a very intentional effort for holding space for women and minority groups within gaming and within PACE in our program. Yeah, those are sort of the steps we take. It's interesting because there's multiple forces at play. On the one hand, you have these broader macro level industry forces of wanting to support and bring women and other minority groups into gaming, into collegiate programs. On the other hand, for PACE, for example, a big driver for the school and for the program is enrollment. And one of the things that this program was, I don't want to say designed, maybe that's not quite the right word, but one thing that it does well and what the university wants out of it is to drive young male student enrollment. And young men are generally interested in esports, gaming, STEM. So we're just rolling out our game development major with the Seidenberg School, which is woven in with our esports program. So on the one hand, we want to bring more women into the space. On the other hand, there's an sort of a explicit directive, an intention from the school to use the program to bring in more young men specifically. So we're probably always going to have a bit of an imbalance within our program, just due to those counteracting forces. But I think the balance that we've achieved and where we're at right now is one that we'll probably strive to maintain for as long as we can.
Definitely in real life, it's very diverse, very accepting. I think PACE Esports has definitely done a great job at providing a lot of support, especially from our directors. Like there's been a few incidents that have happened, and they've always been addressing it. They've always been like, no toxicity allowed, no harassment allowed, and everyone should have a safe and fun environment here. And so in real life, it's been very, very rewarding to be a part of this community and being able to do games competitively here because of what PACE has done. But online, it's a little bit less diverse, I'd say, just because of the nature of video games. I think it's still majority male dominated, but because PACE is a very diverse and liberal arts school, there's a lot of people who fall into both categories here, and so they've created a very nice environment in real life that mostly translates also back onto online because they're mainly the people that I play with. So PACE has definitely helped a lot with creating that diverse community.
Gender dynamic, I really, it's kind of hard to tell here because we have so many women. I love the other girls here. It's really cool. But it does feel like it's very divided. I don't know, just from based off my experience of, just people don't want to interact with me because I don't look pretty like they do. So I just I don't really like that. I just wish I could make friends based off my skill or whatever. And I feel like that's just a big thing in gaming in general. That's why I don't choose to share my face on the internet. I mean, even being recorded now is kind of scary for me because I never am in front of a camera, but yeah. I feel like it's very much if you're extroverted, they'll talk to you, and if you're good at the game, they'll talk to you. And I feel like looks also plays a really good, just because it's New York City, I feel like everyone here is pretty looksist or whatever. So if you don't look like a gamer, they'll like you, especially if you're a girl.
A lot of people I've heard throughout my school, they had a lot of negative reactions to this, oh, why did they build an esports club? Is this what they're spending our tuition money on? Yada, yada, yada. And so, even though it's not, it was because of a sponsor. But I think people don't realize it's just how much of a community this place and this community has made. I've made so many good friends because of it, and a lot of people have been able to find niche communities that they would not have been able to find anywhere else on campus. And I think it's just, gaming has become a lot different now. It's not just, a bunch of sweaty gamer guys playing a game super competitively. It's a bunch of people who genuinely like to spend time with each other and just like to play casually and like to have fun, pursuing their passion with their friends. And I think, gaming has become a lot more accepting of people who weren't previously able to get into that community beforehand. And people still kind of have those those common misconceptions about, the community. But I think it's changed a lot over the years to really become something good.
I feel that a lot of people don't understand that it's a hobby like any other. It's not that we're constantly isolating ourselves from the world, or that we're not, you know, or that we're trying to escape from something. Sometimes we are, and I think that's the point of a hobby, right? You're trying to escape some stress or some pressure, and you find yourself in this new world. And I feel like that's what gaming does for a lot of people. It's like a form of therapy, just how any hobby is. This is a community that not only provides people with friends and human interaction, but it also makes it easier for people who struggle interacting with people and making friends, you know, out in the real world.
I have a lot of friends, especially in Texas, that I'm not able to talk with in real life. So it's nice that gaming brings us together and allows me to essentially hang out with my friends from Texas online. So if I'm ever feeling homesick, and just, you know, I can talk to them, play games with them. And so I think ultimately the connection that I can have with people far away is what keeps me coming back to gaming.
Online, I'm very much more extroverted online. I can make friends really easily. I had a lot of gamer friends just when like the pandemic was happening and everyone was inside. Like all of my friends were online. I didn't have any in real life friends that lived in like near me. And I still have online friends now that I talk to like every day. And my family is almost like online friends now because they live so far away. I always have to talk to them on Discord and everything, and I just play video games with them there. I really feel like I'm a different person online. Video gaming is such a big part of my life that I'm always talking to people online. When I want to hang out with someone, I'm always like, hey, you want to hop on this game? Do you want to get in a call? People here, they just, some of the people kind of just rub me the wrong way. They're gamers. I'm used to them, but it's just that there was some drama I heard about, and it just made me think of them differently. So I just don't choose to like see that, but they're everywhere, so I kind of just have to see it, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Generally speaking, we have fantastic support horizontally and vertically at Pace. So, you know, we have connections with many of the schools, tons of staff members, with the marketing department. Obviously, we're in athletics, Seidenberg School, with university relations, with alumni. And I would like to think we're an ally to everyone, and we support them and they support us. And it's pretty fantastic to have so much institutional support. Vertically speaking, our C-suite and our senior administration has been incredibly supportive of the program from the beginning. One of the criteria that I was looking at prior to taking this job was making sure that the senior administration at an institution I worked at was in support of a program like this and its growth and development. It's not a very fun time to be a program director at a school where the president doesn't understand it or doesn't want to understand it, and you have to fight tooth and nail to get every dollar or you know, do anything. That's not very pleasant, but everyone's been super supportive, and I'd like to think that the program has delivered and some in terms of the value it's provided for the institution from an enrollment standpoint, from a retention standpoint, from a branding and marketing standpoint. From, you know, on a branding note, esports is something that can really make a university's branding and marketing feel fresh and relevant and innovative and aligned with the cultural moment for students. So through and through, I would say it's really good.
Like we have like our own app where only paid students can use, and we just talk about random stuff on there. And every time esports is brought up, esport players are seen as creepy, antisocial, pedophiles, and it was kind of funny to read. I'm gonna be real, like it was kind of funny, but it's just that's how people see them, and they see the women as almost like e-girls. They see them as infantilizing themselves. They're trying to do it just for men. And this is not true. I mean, it's a video game. Why is that gendered? Like, it's an form of entertainment. It's stupid. So that's what I wish people more understood, that maybe girls just like playing games. Like, they're not doing it just for male validation. It's not like that big of a deal.
It's really important to remember that gaming, as much as a community, like a niche community as it might be, is like any other community. and I feel that sometimes that's just misconstrued, and like just how anything else that people don't understand is. And I feel that it's an art,